Hello, Legacy Builders. Welcome back to another show today. I'm the amazing honor to have another guest expert today and talking about helping people break through old patterns so they can thrive and not just survive. I know this is a very important topic for our audience of very ambitious entrepreneurs and CEOs, always looking to level up and grow. Derick Johnson is also a U.S. Army veteran turned life coach. And that's specifically his vocation and the work that he's doing in the world. He helps people break free from old patterns so they can thrive and not just survive. Derick, thanks so much for coming on. And hi from New York to Florida today. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Hey, from Palm Beach, Florida.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much, Derick. And let's just dive right into today's topic. So, what are some of those things that when you have kind of seen the right patterns in your work are things that repeat that really get in the way of holding people back from the life that they're looking to live?
Yeah, definitely. So the number one thing that I've noticed is people's lack of focus and attention. Lack of focus and attention. And where that usually stems from is we're always focused on the next thing, the next 10K, the next this for our team, the next way to scale the business, the next marketing campaign, the set of videos that we have to make. And it's really hard for a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners to fully be present in their workout because they're thinking about work, present with their family and their friends, present with themselves. Like if they're just going on a walk or something, it's hard for them to fully just be present in the moment. So definitely the number one thing that I've noticed is lack of presence. And so I'm not a parent, but I know a lot of parents that I work with, it's hard for them to tap out of business mode and put on the father hat, put on fully their mother hat and mother hat only, and not be thinking about the next steps because their family, their kids, they can always feel when dad's not really here with them. He's here, his body's here, but his mind is going to New York to close the next business deal and doing all this, where presence has been one of the most common and most prevalent things that people are struggling with because they're always worried about the what if of the future or some past situation in business or personal life that they wish they could have changed. So they're living in the future or living in the past, and it's difficult for them to be fully present. I'm not sure if you still hear me. I don't know if we're connected or it's frozen. It's live on my end. I don't know if I'm live on your end. All right, so I'm just going to keep flowing. I think she had internet issues, but if anybody's watching live. So yeah, number one thing that I always recommend, the first step is to create an eliminate sheet. Create an eliminate sheet. Grab a pen and paper and ask yourself, what is the one main thing that I could get rid of that'll help me make more progress? And maybe it's something that you consume in regards to what you eat, what you drink, what you digitally consume on your phone. Like what social media pages are you looking at? Is it positive? Is it empowering? Is it teaching you things? Or is it getting you annoyed? Or are you wasting time arguing with people on Facebook when it comes to politics, whatever in particular? So just ask yourself the question, what are some things that I could get rid of that help me make more progress? Start with what you eat, what you drink, what you consume digitally on your phone, and also in regards to your group chat. Is your group chat empowering and positive, or is it just people that are complaining, talking about things that you don't necessarily have any control over? And from there, you can start to peel back the layers to see what else is something I could get rid of. My intrusive thoughts, my negative thoughts, my lack of fully believing in myself, doing the what if scenario. Well, what if this happens? And if that happens, what if this happens? And stacking these fabricated scenarios that only bring you down. We reconnected? You disappeared for a moment.
Okay, I believe I am back. I'm so sorry about
All right.
that. The
No worries.
internet
No worries.
had a
I just
disconnect.
kept flowing in case they still heard. So no worries.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you kind of, left off, but I kind of left off at being present is a big struggle for a lot of people and entrepreneurs. So, yeah, let's kind of
Yes.
just carry over some of those things that you were kind of sharing because I missed a lot of the things because of the internet, low internet
Yeah, no
connection.
worries. No worries. So step one would be to create an elimination sheet. So grabbing that sheet of paper and pen and asking ourselves, what is something that I could get rid of that will help me make more progress. And I always recommend people start with what they consume. So, what do they eat? What do they drink that maybe getting them off of their flow or keeps them annoyed with themselves? So, if somebody's struggling with sugar, too many carbs, this type of artificial energy drink that they're like, I need to stop drinking that monster. I need to go with natural coffee or no caffeine. So, step one in elimination, I recommend they start with what they're consuming in regards to what they're eating and drinking. Then, from there, looking at what they do digitally. What are we consuming on these things? Are we consuming positive, powerful information, things that provide value? Or are we looking at dramatic things, negative, spending time arguing with somebody in the Facebook comment about politics or whatever somebody's beliefs are? So, really being aware of those things. And once we get deeper into what we're physically consuming, what we're putting into our mind, we can look at our environment. What group chats are you part of? Do they talk about success, next levels, learning from our mistakes and failures? Or is it just closed mindedness, complaining, and negativity? And once we go from there, we can start to really go deeper because that person is comfortable. They've written down some things about food, about drinks, how much time they want to spend or spend less on these social apps. And from there, they may say, you know what I really need to eliminate are these intrusive thoughts, this self-doubt, this negative mindset, limiting beliefs. And then they can truly have some clarity to write those things down, opposed to starting with it. So in order to go deeper, to start with what we're eating, what we're consuming mentally, and then really look at deep down at your core, what is that one main thing that you know you should get rid of or replace with something better that will help you make more progress. And so when somebody has that confidence to do that, step one in that is we have to push our pride and ego out of the way. And as entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, that's one of the hardest things. It's really hard for people to push pride and ego out of the way to say, you know what, I struggle in this area. I need to elevate this. So that would definitely be one thing that'll help people be more present, is to control the things that they can control. And step one is just eliminate those things that are keeping you from becoming that version of yourself that you want to be.
Yeah. I love all three that you shared, Derick. I think it's definitely a struggle for a lot of people. I think the one piece that you mentioned is to absolutely surround ourselves with the right circles of people around us, because we all know how much we get affected by the people that we're actually hanging out with. But let's go deeper
Oh,
into
yeah.
the presence piece. Being intentional, cleaning house, so to speak, figuring out what are those things that are kind of getting in our way of us, achieving specific results in our lives, doing sort of like an inventory of actions that we are doing or not doing in order for those to get us to where is it that we would like to go. How can we make it more of an intentional practice to be more present so that we can kind of be attentive around the thoughts that are holding us back, the maybe health habits that might be that we need to stop and start, or maybe more quality time with our close relationships? What are some things that we can do to start to get more grounded and present around those important areas?
Great question. So what I would recommend is that they plan that particular task, but the goal is they can only do that one thing. So here's a simple example. Most people, they cannot eat a meal without looking at their phone or their laptop. Like they never have a meal without scrolling, checking email, doing et cetera, et cetera. So I challenge people and ask themselves is, when was the last time you had a meal where you did not touch your phone one time? Like you just enjoyed that salad, you enjoyed that pasta, that sandwich, and just sat there for 5 to 10 minutes without touching any devices. I know it sounds funny. I know it sounds simple, but most of us cannot do that. And then we realize how addicted we are to all these devices. So I would start with our meals by not touching devices and being present with ourselves, being present with whoever we're sitting with, colleague, a lead, family member, whoever. Because now you go into any restaurant, no matter where in the world somebody is, 99% of people are like this: chin down, head down, looking at devices and iPads. The family's not present. It might even be a work meeting and everybody's on their phone. So, number one is challenge yourself to not touch a device when you're eating. And most people, they realize that they almost can't do it, that they feel like they want to go grab that phone because that email is so important right now. And I just like to flip it and say, is anything else as important as you eating right now? Can you not finish that salad without touching anything? And just pausing for a moment. Like, why are we making everything so urgent? Like it's an emergency. Do you have control of your attention and time? Or do your notifications, your employees, staff, customers, clients, society, do they control your time? So just flipping it and keeping it simplistic in regards to being present when we're eating. Next up is asking ourselves, am I living in conscious congruency? And essentially all that means is, am I doing the things that my conscience is guiding me and pushing me to do? If she feels like she needs to go on more walks in nature, her conscience told her that instantly. Does she start doing that? Or does she wait a week and 2 weeks and says, really agitated with myself? Because those micro decisions are going to start to stack. And then people will start to sense that energy. Maybe that person's not as confident. Maybe they're more abrasive and annoyed. And it's not that they're so much annoyed with others, it's usually just themselves. So they start to project those things. So just asking ourselves, am I doing what my conscience is guiding me to do? Maybe that's fitness wise. Maybe that's not to eat this thing. Maybe that's get rid of alcohol for the rest of the month or the rest of the quarter, whatever in particular it is. Because a lot of times we ignore those things and we override them with something else. Oh, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. Yeah, I'm going to do that later. This is more important right now. But actually, subconsciously, we're getting more and more annoyed with ourselves. And that's why people are always trying to take the edge off, mask whatever stress they have. And so, as you know, in business, alcohol and drugs and other similar things are very prevalent because we're rarely present. We always have to cope or mask things. But the individual who does not need those things, they're usually the most calm and confident, but they don't need an outside source. So I would just go back to the question of, am I in total control and am I living in congruence with my conscience? Because it's already telling me what to do. Am I listening or am I saying, not right now. I need this thing.
Mm.
Those micro decisions, that right there can dictate somebody's confidence and calmness. Because if they go into that sales meeting already annoyed with themselves, they haven't worked out in 2 weeks, they've been eating bad, they're bloated, they're annoyed with themselves, they drank last night, today they're dehydrated, all that energy spills into the business meeting and they might not even close or close for the amount that they wanted to. So I just like to start with just the individual. And again, step one is always, can we push pride and ego out of the way? Once we're able to do that and we're not judging ourselves, we give ourselves some grace, we could truly start to make the changes that we want. Because then our people feel it. Family, friends, our team, they're like, wow, she's in such a zone right now. I like this. She has this focused look. I want to be part of her team. I want them part of my team, and vice versa. You can always sense that from somebody that's just on a mission rather than controlled by other things.
I love that you talked about the power of micro decisions because everything, it's always at the micro level before it gets to the macro level. And if we have a lot of things that we have not addressed, then obviously it will show up in our work and in our results. So I love that you mentioned that. And also the conscious piece, right? That that inner voice, listen to, where that's trying to guide you because it's probably guiding you towards the thing that serves you at the highest level. But Derick, I feel like the most challenging part for people is actually sitting with those uncomfortable feelings that come up when you have that
Yes.
urge to check your email, check your social media, get distracted by an email, a phone call, because unfortunately our survival brain thinks that everything is urgent and we need to react to
Yes.
it right away. Is there like a process that maybe you walk your clients through to kind of handle the feeling of the feelings, the uncomfortable feelings, so that we come out on the other side and we could start to deal with some of the stuff that most people kind of shy away? But that comes back to haunt you in other ways as well. So I guess my question is there like a process of feeling uncomfortable feelings so that we can make this change more sustainable for people? And also on the other end, to kind of have maybe a framework for people so that it doesn't feel like these feelings are so scary, the uncomfortable feelings, so we actually can handle them.
Yes, for sure. So in psychology, there's a saying that goes, if the problem is in the mind, the solution is in the body. If the problem is in the body, the solution
Mhm.
is in the mind. So if the person is mentally stressed, they can't necessarily think themselves to feel empowered, think themselves to feel calmer or more confident. Step one is just changing their state. If they've been sitting, stand up, stretch, go for a 3 to 5 minute walk, do some jumping jacks for 30 seconds straight, right where they're standing or sitting, but just moving the body. Again, they don't necessarily have to have a full workout 6 times a day. It's just more so changing and elevating their state. Because once they're in a higher state, mental and physical, they're more likely to make a better decision, to have a better outcome. And then in the end of the day, they're going to say, you know what? I was this close to being annoyed in that meeting, or this close to not sending that email, or not making the call because we didn't feel like it. So, step one in this regard would be to elevating our state and doing the opposite of what we've been doing. So, like right now, I'm at my standing desk. So, if I did the opposite, I'll sit down, take a nice breather, be present, and change my state that way. For others, it might be they have to stand up, move their body, and then before they go into that business meeting, make that phone call, they're in a higher state, and instantly that person can feel their confidence, their certainty, and their level of energy where they're like, wow, she means business. I trust him, I trust her. And they just come across as more calm and confident rather than reactionary to everything, where they're like, oh yeah, it's been such a long day. And it's hard to trust that kind of person in business when they're always like honestly all over the place and just seem stressed. So step one would be to elevate our state. And you can do that within 2 minutes. Move, shake it out. Let's just say somebody has a favorite song. They can play that song and just jump in place for a moment, dance, do something. But I do recommend that people just go outside if they're able to, where they're at, and just reset. Reset before you make that big decision. Reset before you make that next decision. Because sometimes we bite our words and later on we regret it and say, I should have said this in the meeting, or with the client, or with ourselves, or speaking to our team. And I'm like, oh, I came off abrasive. Because usually if you come off abrasive, it's more so an internal thing and we're just projecting as leaders. But definitely the fastest way would be to change our state, which is essentially just doing the opposite of what you were. But to keep in mind is that our state consists of three things: what we focus on, the language we use, how we speak to others, and then also our physiology. So we talked about the physiology: move the body, sit down if you've been on your feet all day. The second two things are our thoughts. What has she been focused on the most? Is it the positive outcome that she wants? Or is it the what if scenario if things go wrong? If the Wi-Fi glitches, if they say no to the sale, if they say this, is she or he doing the what if? Or are they saying, you know what, I'm only focused on the outcome that I want for myself, for my team, for my family, for our company, for whatever it is, solely focused on what they do want. And then the last thing is the language. What is the language that they use? Do they speak positively and empowering to their team? And do they speak the opposite way to themselves? Because that's the issue many people have. They speak positive to others, but if people were alone with them, they're like, wow, you speak to yourself like that? So it's just catching ourselves, making sure that it matches. Because a lot of times we really wouldn't have friends if we spoke to our friends the way we speak to ourselves, because we're stressed and annoyed. So being hyper aware of that. But everything starts with our physiology. Elevate our state. What have I been focused on? The outcome I want. Okay. And how do I speak to myself? How do I speak to my team? How do I post on socials or write in my email? Just making sure that the energy is right. So big picture, all we're doing is mentally resetting before we take the next step in whatever it is. It could be for ourselves, for our team, or for the business as a whole.
Yeah, all great points. I want to thank you so much, Derick, for not only the work that you're doing out there in the world with helping people through this very important area, because I know this, obviously, this is the most fundamental work there is, and everything else that we want really is a
Right.
byproduct of that. So, and also the what you just shared thus far with our community as well, highly appreciated. I'd love to get behind your purpose a little bit. How did you get here? What were some of the most impactful moments in your personal life or professional life that led you to this work with other people?
I appreciate it. Great question. So honestly, I grew up. So my mother is German. My father's African American. My father was U.S. Army for 25 years. So he was hyper focused, disciplined, and my mother's German. If people are familiar with Germans, we're very strict. Everything is structured and just real tight. So our home and our family was ran like a business. Everything was, you got to do this, got to do that, and everything was there. On the flip side, because it was only ran as a business, we didn't necessarily say, I love you. We didn't necessarily hug. We weren't really affectionate. We really didn't ask each other, how are you feeling today? Everything was like, nope, we don't have time for that. We got to get stuff done. People depend on us. We're leaders. We're leaders. We need to educate, help empower people. And that's all it was. So because I was lacking that time and attention, I realized that as a kid and as a teen, I would give that to people. Because at the end of the day, humans, we want two things. We want to feel heard and understood. Heard and understood. So that child and that adult who doesn't feel heard and understood, they're going to lash out in a certain way, or the vices control them. And so, speaking of vices, my parents became very successful. They grew up poor, but alcoholism and drugs run in my family. And so, dealing with a lot of that going on around me, I was the physical, verbal, emotional punching bag because of the alcohol. So, I had to make a decision to say, you know what, I'm going to break this generational curse, because behind closed doors, there was a lot of violence happening. And so I used that to my advantage to get into personal development. So I was that teen that was skinny, that was insecure. I was bullied. I had a bad stuttering issue. I was getting beat up at school. I was getting beat up at home. And I just said, enough is enough. And so with my own journey, I had to elevate myself. So my step one into my personal development was fitness. After fitness, I truly worked deep on my faith. Fitness was my step one. Step two was my faith. And then from there, I just became a different person. People are like, wow, you're so calm. You used to be scared. You used to be really timid and used to never raise your hand. Now you're ready to lead people. And so I truly fell in love with helping empower and build up others, because I knew how it felt not to really be built up by anyone. And so because of my childhood and teenage years, that inspired me. And then I got into the US Army. I did satellite communications. I was also the master fitness trainer. So I helped male and female soldiers get mission ready, essentially just get them into an empowered headspace. Or if they came back from an injury, they gained 20 or 30 pounds and they were in a slump, drinking more. So because of my upbringing, seeing a lot of violence and knowing the counter reactions of what kids or teens can feel from alcoholism or drugs, I wanted to flip that into a positive path, build up others. And at the end of the day, I truly believe that we're all here to learn from our traumas, find our gift, and give back. Because being successful and just hoarding all the information becomes miserable. So giving back to others, helping empower them, even if it's not their career. So that's what I challenge people to do. What can you do to become the man or woman that you always needed? And how can you give them back to the world? What can you do to become the man or woman you always needed? And how can you give him or her back to the world?
Derick, I believe I can't hear you anymore for some reason.
Oh,
Have a
I'm not
oh,
sure what happened there.
you are back. But it was only for the last few seconds. But what a
Okay.
journey! What a journey! I mean, I love that you've turned your pain into purpose, right? Because I always say there's always, two ways to discover our purpose is through our pain or our passion. And much like you, myself, I've been able to do a lot of that as well. So.
Awesome.
Derick, I would love for you to maybe end our interview today with a final message. I think you were trying to say that as the audio cut off.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the audio was cutting in and out.
yeah, a final message behind the mission, and the mission of why you believe this is really your vocation to the world, the service towards others. I love that you also shared something that I've also discovered, that information, our experiences, unless we share them with others, then obviously they cannot add value to anyone else or contribute towards things that we care about or are of service towards somebody else. So, what would be a final message behind the mission that you have out there with your work? And also, where is it that the audience can further connect with you and continue this conversation?
Yeah, for sure. So number one would be how can you flip your pain into fuel? And how can you use that to build something that empowers others? That could be with a business, that could be with a service, a product, that could be volunteering, nonprofit. It doesn't always have to be somebody's business as a whole. But what can you do to flip that pain into fuel and build something that is going to empower others? And from there, big picture is you went through a lot of dark stuff, a lot of low times, but you're still here. You're still here. You're still alive. You're still grateful. You're still blessed. So flip the perspective and say, you know what? I still have a fighting chance. I may be going through a lot right now, yesterday or 10 years ago. I'm still alive. I'm still blessed. I have all my limbs. You're moving. A lot of us have $1,000 to $3,000 phones and devices that we're watching or listening to this on. Have that perspective. We're all blessed. So let's breathe, reset, see how we can help build up others. But yeah, so in regards to reaching me, they can find me on social media at Fit with Derek 2. That is the number 2. Or they can just search Derek Johnson. It's the same profile picture on everything. So I'll pop up. And my whole intent with social media is to plant seeds. If somebody hits snooze 3 to 5 times every morning, they're going to see my video and be like, ooh, he was talking to me. I need to stop hitting snooze. The whole intent is to help people to stop wasting their potential. There's so much untapped potential inside of people. I'm just going to light the fire so that fire can build and so they can step up as men and women and be the leaders that everybody needs, especially now in society.
Derek, thank you so much for this amazing, inspiring, and educational conversation. Because I believe that education is very important, right? First, we have to know what is it that we can implement, so that we can work on the implementation and find support from people just like you with certain different areas of our lives. Thank you so much for all the amazing work that you're doing, and also for what you have shared with us. We've actually reached the end of our show today. Thank you so much for always watching, supporting. Don't forget to subscribe, review, and share. And sponsor spots are still available. So if you'd like one, let me know and we will go from there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another amazing guest and conversation.
Awesome.
Hello, hello, dear loyal podcast listeners. Thank you so much for your attention and the support that you give to our podcast. In addition to the shows that we bring upon you on this podcast, I would love to introduce you to a couple of books that I've authored in case these books can be the next legacy product that you need to surround yourself with to align your life and business and scale your purpose and profits. The first book that I've authored is called Connecting the Dots Backwards. And this book will help you connect the vision between your past, your present, and your future so that you can have that clarity of purpose, so that you can really align your entrepreneurship journey with the purpose that you are feeling called to be able to serve others in the world. That's my first book. The next book is Purpose Driven Entrepreneurship. This book has my legacy framework of connecting the dots between your branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team in your company so that you align your purpose and your profit, and your company can be a self led company beyond its owner. The next book that I've authored is called Visionary Purpose Driven Leadership. And this book will help you scale your purpose and profit at the next level, where you are trading your time and utilizing the money so that you can buy back time in your company, but also grow a company that is really creating impact in the world. So this book will absolutely help you align